You owe no one an explanation for choosing peace. You don't need permission to protect your energy. And starting today, it's time to ghost everyone who doesn't value your presence. You've been conditioned to believe that choosing yourself is selfish, that pulling away makes you the villain. But here's the truth they taught you wrong. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it's survival. And it's time you start treating it like that. You are not obligated to exhaust your mental, emotional, and spiritual energy just to make someone else feel comfortable. Every time you silence your intuition to accommodate someone else's chaos, you chip away at your own identity. That's not love. That's not loyalty. That's abandonment of yourself. And if you keep doing that, if you keep showing up for everyone else while you crumble inside, you're not being kind, you're being erased. Think about how much you've tolerated just to keep the peace. The fake smiles, the long phone calls that drained your soul, the emotional labor that no one asked you to do but everyone expected you to handle. You've played therapist, cheerleader, motivator, crisis manager, everything for everyone. But who's been that for you? Who held you when you fell apart? Who listened when you had nothing left to give? You've given everything, and still somehow it was never enough for them. That's the moment it should hit you. Peace doesn't come from pleasing people. Peace comes from choosing to stop. Stop explaining. Stop apologizing. Stop engaging. Your peace starts the moment you decide you're done performing. You see, people who truly care about you won't punish you for setting boundaries. They won't question your silence when you need space. They won't guilt trip you for protecting your mental health. But the ones who depended on your constant availability, the ones who fed off your energy without ever replenishing it, they will resist your shift. They'll call you distant, cold, selfish. Let them. That's not your truth. That's their projection. When you stop giving, their reaction reveals who they were the whole time. And your silence becomes the loudest truth they've ever heard. Choosing peace means risking disapproval. It means being misunderstood. But if your soul finally breathes, isn't it worth it? You don't have to scream to be heard. You don't have to fight to prove your worth. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is go quiet, disengage, ghost. Not because you're weak, but because you're wise. When the noise gets too loud, silence becomes a weapon. When the chaos is constant, disappearing becomes a strategy. You're not retreating, you're recharging. You're not abandoning anyone, you're reclaiming yourself. And the ones who truly value you will understand that. The rest, they were never really there for you, just what you offered. Ghosting them isn't betrayal. It's liberation. Here's the truth no one tells you: not everyone deserves access to you. Your time, your thoughts, your energy, they are precious, sacred. And if you don't protect them, people will treat them like they're disposable. It's not enough to say you value peace, you have to live like you do. That means saying no. That means disappearing without guilt. That means prioritizing your inner stillness over external noise. You've been giving people a front row seat to your life who haven't even earned a ticket. Close the curtain. Step off the stage. Redirect that energy inward. You'll be amazed at how loud your power becomes when you stop wasting it. This isn't about revenge. It's not about proving a point. It's about reclaiming your power. For too long, you've diluted your truth to keep relationships alive that were already dead. You've tolerated disrespect disguised as tough love. You've accepted inconsistency and labeled it as just who they are. But the moment you prioritize your peace, everything shifts. You start vibrating higher. You start attracting better. And those old connections, they fall off naturally because your soul starts recognizing what no longer aligns. That's when you realize ghosting isn't running, it's rising. And the view from this level, it's clearer, calmer, and finally it feels like home. You've been pouring into empty cups, hoping one day they'd overflow back into you. But let's be honest, they never will. You keep watering dead plants, nurturing connections that haven't bloomed in years. And deep down, you know it. You've been ignoring the signs because you didn't want to give up on people. You kept hoping they'd change. You kept telling yourself they just needed more time, more support, more understanding. But how much longer are you going to bleed yourself dry trying to revive what's already gone? Some people are not meant to grow with you, they're meant to teach you when it's time to let go. And now, it's time. You keep giving chances to people who show you the same patterns, the same neglect, the same indifference. They ghost you when they want, come back when it's convenient, and you, because of your heart, you let them. You welcome them back with warmth, with kindness, with hope. But hope without boundaries becomes self-sabotage. You're not helping them grow. You're enabling their comfort and treating you like an option. And every time you forgive what they never even apologized for, you send a silent message: you can hurt me, and I'll still stay. That is not love. That is not loyalty. That is you betraying your own worth for the illusion of connection. You have to stop believing that your love can fix people who refuse to fix themselves. That your energy can sustain relationships built on inconsistency. You are not a savior. You're not here to be their emotional crutch. You're here to live, to evolve, to become the fullest version of yourself. But every time you stay in a one-sided relationship, you delay your growth. Every time you fight to keep something alive that keeps hurting you, you lose another piece of yourself. You're not being loyal, you're being lost in someone else's mess. And eventually you forget what it felt like to be free. That's the cost of constantly trying to resuscitate what's already lifeless. Look around. Look at who you've been showing up for. Do they show up for you in the same way? Or are you always the one checking in, apologizing first, extending the olive branch? Love should not feel like a job interview where you're constantly trying to prove you're good enough to stay. It should feel like breathing. Natural, mutual, sacred. And if it doesn't, you're not in love, you're in emotional debt. You're overcompensating for what they lack and calling balance. That's not balance, that's imbalance disguised as effort. And the sooner you recognize that, the sooner you can step away and choose peace instead. The people who truly belong in your life won't drain you. They won't make you question your value. They won't disappear when you need them most. And they damn sure won't treat your vulnerability like a burden. You've been giving your time, your care, your loyalty to people who've made you feel like too much and not enough at the same time. That confusion you feel, that emotional chaos, that's your soul begging you to. Stop. Stop watering what's not growing. Stop showing up for people who wouldn't notice if you disappeared. Because if you don't, one day you'll look around and realize you've given everything. And you have nothing left in yourself. It's time to get honest with yourself. Are you holding on because you believe in the relationship or because you're afraid of the emptiness it'll leave behind? That fear is what keeps you stuck. But that space, that silence after you let go, that's where healing begins. That's where clarity lies. You can't build something real on the foundation of false hope. And you can't force someone to value what they're not capable of. Recognizing. So stop watering dead plants. Stop clinging to connections that only survive because you refused to stop feeding them. Your energy is sacred. Start treating it like the lifeblood it is, because when it's gone, you can't get it back. Growth is not a group project. It's a solo journey that demands clarity, commitment, and an unshakable willingness to let go of anything that no longer serves you. You cannot grow while dragging dead weight. You cannot rise while surrounded by people who refuse to evolve. Look around, really look. Who in your life is pushing you forward? Who's challenging your mindset, expanding your vision, holding you accountable to your potential? If the answer is no one, then ask yourself this: why are they still in your space? Comfort is not the same as connection. And history is not a reason to stay loyal to people who don't fuel your future. Some relationships were only meant to serve the old version of you. The one who played small. The one who tolerated disrespect. The one who made excuses for other people's poor behavior. But the person you're becoming, they don't have time for that. They don't enter tacrity, they don't shrink to make others feel comfortable. And if someone can meet you on this new level, it's not your job to pull them up, it's your responsibility to move forward without them. Because dragging people who don't want to grow doesn't make you noble. It makes you stuck. Your environment shapes your mindset. The conversations you have daily, the energy you're surrounded by, the standards you normalize, all of that determines your direction. And if you're constantly around people who settle, complain, blame, and procrastinate, you're going to absorb that energy whether you really realize it or. You can't dream big in a room full of small minds. You can't chase purpose in a space that's addicted to comfort. And the sad truth, some of the people closest to you are the very ones slowing you down, not out of malice, but because your growth threatens their stagnation. They don't want to lose you, but they don't want to rise with you either. That's not a partnership. That's an anchor. When you start evolving, you're going to make people uncomfortable. You'll be called arrogant, distant, selfish because you no longer fit inside the box they built for you. And that's okay. That discomfort is a sign that you're breaking patterns. That you're no longer available for the same draining conversations, the same recycled problems, the same dead-end energy. Growth requires you to make people uncomfortable. But more importantly, it requires you to be okay with being misunderstood. Your path is not up for debate. It doesn't need validation. It needs commitment to you. There's a reason elevators have weight limits. The higher you go, the fewer people can come with you. And yet you keep trying to squeeze everyone into your ascent. Friends, family, old flames, people who were never meant to understand the vision that was placed on your heart. You keep waiting for them to get it, to match your energy, to meet you halfway. But some people are not meant to continue the journey. And holding on to them doesn't save them, it sabotages you. You can't fly with bricks in your backpack. You can't build an empire with people who think small talk is deep conversation. Let that truth hit hard. Real growth requires real sacrifice. Not everyone can go. Not everyone should. And yes, it's painful to let go of people you once loved, laughed with, and leaned on. But keeping them around for nostalgia's sake will cost you your destiny. Ask yourself, is this person helping me grow or are they keeping me small? Are they fueling my fire or draining my light? The answer is already in your gut. You've just been afraid to act on it. But here's the truth, your next level depends on your ability to choose alignment over attachment. It's not cruelty, it's clarity. And it's the only way forward. Cost you your destiny. Ask yourself, is this person helping me grow or are they keeping me small? Are they fueling my fire or draining my light? The answer is already in your gut. You've just been afraid to act on it. But here's the truth, your next level depends on your ability to choose alignment over attachment. It's not cruelty, it's clarity. And it's the only way forward. You cannot build a powerful future while you're weighed down by emotional baggage that was never yours to carry. Every time you say yes to someone else's chaos, you're saying no to your own clarity. Every time you prioritize their drama over your discipline, You delay your own progress. The harsh truth is, you've become the dumping ground for other people's issues. And while they walk lighter after every conversation, every outburst, every breakdown, you walk heavier. Heavier with guilt. Heavier with confusion. Heavier with wounds that aren't even yours. But here's what they don't tell you. Carrying their pain won't heal them, and it will destroy you. Some people don't want solutions, they want an audience for their suffering. They want you around. Not because they respect your wisdom, but because your presence makes their dysfunction feel normal. And you, with your heart wide open and your boundaries paper thin, keep showing up. You tell yourself you're being a friend, a loyal partner, a supportive sibling. But what you're really doing is sacrificing your peace for people who wouldn't even notice if you disappeared. That's not love. That's codependency. And it's time you see the difference before it costs you your purpose. Your dreams require full attention. Your healing requires space. And neither of those things can coexist with people who constantly pull you into their storms. You can't write the next chapter of your life if you're stuck editing someone else's. You can't step into greatness if you're drowning in obligations that were never yours to begin with. And if someone truly loved you deeply, intentionally and selfishly, they wouldn't expect you to abandon your goals just to rescue them from the consequences of their choices. Love does not look like emotional imprisonment. It looks like freedom, accountability, and growth. You need to understand that being available to everyone all the time is not strength, it's self-neglect. You were not built to be the emotional life raft for people who refuse to learn how to swim. You were not placed on this earth to be everyone's emergency contact. The more you make yourself available to dysfunction, the more unavailable you become to your destiny. You say you're tired, burnt out, overwhelmed, but the truth is you're misaligned. You're too plugged into other people's problems and too disconnected from your own purpose. The solution isn't more rest, it's more release. The weight you're carrying isn't just emotional, it's energetic. And it's slowing you down in ways you can't even see. You think you're procrastinating because you're lazy, but in reality you're exhausted from playing savior. You think you're uninspired, but what you really are is overstimulated by other people's chaos. And until you disconnect completely, unapologetically, you won't realize how much it's been draining you. Your future requires a lighter load. And that means cutting ties, going silent, stepping away. Not because you're cruel. Not because you don't care. But because your purpose is suffocating under the weight of someone else's pain. Not everyone deserves front row seats to your journey. Some people are only meant to be lessons, not lifelines. And if you keep dragging them along, hoping they'll rise to meet you, you're going to miss everything that's meant for you. You can't keep carrying their burdens and expect to build your own blessings. The two cannot coexist. You have to choose. You have to decide what matters more, the comfort of staying loyal to dysfunction, or the courage to create a life that finally honors your soul. Because your future isn't waiting forever. And every second you spend in someone else's storm is a second stolen from your own sunrise. You've spent so much of your life being accessible emotionally, physically, mentally because you thought that's what love looked like. You believed that always being available made you valuable. That picking up every call, replying to every message, and showing up every time someone else was in need somehow defined your worth. But let's be clear, your worth is not tied to your availability. You are not a lifeline for people who only remember you when they're drowning. You are not a support system for those who disappear the moment you need something. Real love does not require you to be constantly reachable. Real respect does not ask you to abandon yourself in the name of loyalty. You have every right to be unreachable, to go off the grid, to not explain where you are or why you're not. responding. People who truly respect you will never question your silence, they'll understand it. Because they know you're a human being, not a 24/7 hotline. The world has convinced you that constant communication equals connection. But constant access breeds entitlement. It makes people believe they deserve a piece of you at all times. That they can demand your presence without ever offering reciprocity. That's not connection, that's control. And the more you allow it, the more you lose control over your own life. Silence is not rude, it's sacred. It's where you realign. It's where you recharge. It's where you get clear on what's real and what's just noise. You don't owe anyone a daily update. You don't have to perform emotional labor to prove your love or loyalty. You are allowed to go still. You are allowed to go dark. And the people who are right for your life will never punish you for that. They'll hold space. They'll respect your boundaries. They'll wait with grace, not guilt. Because they understand that silence doesn't mean disconnection, it often means healing. Start observing who gets offended when you choose silence, who reacts with anger, manipulation, or guilt when you decide to unplug. Those are the people who were never aligned with your highest good, because their connection to you was based on what you gave, not who you are. They don't miss your presence, they miss your service. They don't mourn your absence, they mourn their access. And once you realize that, you see how many people loved your energy but never loved you, your entire perspective will shift. You'll stop feeling bad for being unavailable and start feeling empowered by your boundaries. There's a dangerous belief that silence means weakness. That if you're not constantly visible or vocal, you're irrelevant. But the truth is, silence is power. It's how you take your energy back. It's how you stop bleeding for people who never tried to stop your wounds. You've been taught to associate your value with visibility, but some of the most powerful growth happens in the dark. Flowers bloom in silence. Mountains form in silence. Healing happens in silence. You don't need to announce your transformation. You don't need to explain your distance. Let your stillness speak for itself and let the noise fade away. You've been overstimulated for so long, you've forgotten what peace feels like. Constant conversations, constant checking in, constant explaining. But peace isn't loud, it's quiet. And it's found in the spaces where you finally choose you. When you stop replying just to avoid conflict. When you stop showing up just to prove you're loyal. When you stop engaging just to keep the connection alive. That's when peace walks in, not with a bang but with a breath. And once you feel that kind of stillness, you'll wonder why you ever let the noise in to begin with. You don't need closure to walk away. That belief, the one that tells you must wait for an apology, an explanation, a final conversation, that's the lie keeping you stuck. The truth is, some people will never give you the answers you deserve. Not because you weren't worthy of them, but because they were never capable of that level of honesty. They were never brave enough to face the damage they caused. So instead they disappear. Or worse, they stay silent, watching as you try to make sense of the mess they left behind. And while you wait for clarity, your life stays on pause. But healing doesn't begin when they take responsibility, it begins when you decide their silence is closure enough. You've been trained to seek resolution, to believe that every relationship, every betrayal, every heartbreak must have a neat, finished ending. But real life doesn't work that way. Some chapters close without warning. Some people exit without a goodbye. And some wounds heal without ever hearing "I'm sorry." Waiting for closure keeps you tied to a story that's already over. It tricks your heart into believing you're still part of something that ended a long time ago. And in that waiting, you keep reliving the pain over and over again, trying to understand something that was never about you to begin with. You can't force truth from someone committed to their own lies. The ones who hurt you aren't always going to acknowledge it. Some don't have the emotional maturity, must have a neat finish ending. But real life doesn't work that way. Some chapters close without warning. Some people exit without a goodbye. And some wounds heal without ever hearing "I'm sorry." Waiting for closure keeps you tied to a story that's already over. It tricks your heart into believing you're still part of something that ended a long time ago. And in that waiting, you keep reliving the pain over and over again, trying to understand something that was never about you to begin with. You can't force truth from someone committed to their own lies. The ones who hurt you aren't always going to acknowledge it. Some don't have the emotional maturity. Closure is walking away from the apology that never came and choosing peace anyway. It's understanding that not everyone's going to give you a clean exit, and that's okay. You don't need their honesty to tell yourself the truth. You don't need their remorse to feel your own healing. You don't need a conclusion to begin again. The healing you seek isn't in their words, it's in your release. Every time you tell yourself, "I just need to understand why," what you're really doing is delaying your freedom. The why won't undo what happened. The why won't change who they were. And even if you got every answer you're craving, it still wouldn't fill the space they hollowed out. Because healing doesn't come from understanding their damage. It comes from protecting yourself from it ever again. You think knowing their side will make it easier to let go. But often the only thing knowing does is hurt more. What you really need is distance. What you really need is silence. What you really need is to choose peace over explanation. You don't have to wait another day. You don't have to stay frozen in confusion, replaying conversations, dissecting behaviors, wondering what was real. You know what was real? Your pain was real. Your effort was real. Your love was real. And that's enough. You don't need them to say it. You don't need permission to move on. You don't need the final word. You are the final word. The moment you decide you're done, you are. The moment you decide to heal, you start. And the moment you stop waiting for closure and start choosing your future, that's the moment your freedom begins. You said, so let them wonder where you went. Let them feel the silence they never thought you'd choose. Let them talk, assume, rewrite the story, because none of it matters now. You're not walking away for attention. You're walking away for alignment. You're not disappearing out of spite. You're disappearing to protect your peace, to protect your power, to protect the version of you that's finally rising. This isn't about revenge. It's about rebirth. The world doesn't need the version of you that bends, breaks, and bleeds for everyone else. The world needs the version that's whole, healed, and untouchable. So ghost them. Not because you're bitter, but because you're better. And now it's your time.